green that's going on. It's just beautiful. And I want to know what you guys have from here. Like, I know I got myself some Matic here. I love Matic. Got myself some Matic. We have Obi in the backstage waiting. We're going to pop him in right now. But look at this. I just want to show you guys this screen that's going on. Now, what I find truly interesting, guys, check this out. S&P's down. So it looks like we've decoupled or something from the stock market, which is very, very interesting, right? And then the Dow was barely up, like a fraction of a percentage, which I find that interesting because all last week we were just following the S&P, and this week it's looking good for crypto. It's looking good for crypto. So anyways, let's get right into what you guys are here for. So I'm going to bring Obi right onto the stream, and let's get him in.
Hey.
Yo, Obi, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good. Had some really good Twitter spaces today, and looks like some people made it over in the comments, so that's awesome.
Yeah, right on. Hey, Obi, I gotta say, man, like every time that I hear you talk, I'm just like blown away. You're like I think one of the smartest crypto dudes I've heard out there.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Maybe not so much after this discussion. We'll see.
So for sure, I know today's stream, I wanted it to be specifically like about the tokenomics of VGX. So I know that there's been a lot of like, I don't know if you've dug into like Reddit and all that, and there's so much FUD going on in there on the tokenomics of VGX that it's pretty much just like this crazy inflationary token. But I know I've heard you say that it needs to be. But what you wanted to tell us kind of like the basics, right, of like tokenomics and all that?
Yeah, I think it's good just to talk a little bit about there's a pretty big fundamental lack of understanding of markets in general and economics in general and how price is set. Like I asked the question earlier, can somebody to describe how the price of a token is set? And you kind of get the silence or the deer in the headlights kind of a look in like, okay, well, there's a lot of education opportunities out there to kind of bring forth the basics, because I think so many people want to get into the digital asset space and into investing because they want to better their lives and make some cash, but they don't fully understand what it is they're getting into. Maybe they're at a job, they get a paycheck, they know that they should contribute to a 401k, but they don't necessarily understand how that works. They just put money in because it's what they've been told to do. So there's just a lot of that thing that happens of, we do things because we're told to do it, not because we understand it. And so hopefully we can bring some understanding behind it.
I mean, I'm for sure is pretty excited for this because I've heard you talk about it, and I try to, through spaces and whatnot, and sometimes I've been like, wait, let me ask you a question because I want like a clarifying question, but with Twitter spaces it moves quick and whatnot, so I'm definitely excited to have you here, and kind of go at the own pace of the stream and whatnot. But let's see. So do you want to start off with some of the questions that we had, or do you want to go ahead and tell us?
I just want to start with that fundamental, just the basics. It might be elementary for some, but it might be enlightening for others. So I just want to talk about that in general, just to lead off. It might answer questions. It might spur some thought. But I'll go ahead and share up a window.
Yeah, let me go ahead.
All right. So I just went to Coinbase Pro. It's not alive. I didn't want to log into my account, but this is a representation of what an exchange is. Voyager is a brokerage, and what they do is they scour the exchanges and money markets to find us the best price. They use their smart order routing to help determine that. But if you don't trade with a brokerage like TD Ameritrade, a Voyager, a Schwab, a Fidelity, then you got to kind of deal with an exchange. So an exchange in the crypto world is like the Dow Jones or NASDAQ of the stock world, right? Those things are down, crypto's doing well. Awesome. So Coinbase Pro is one of the more common dashboards people are accustomed to seeing. And I think it illustrates pretty clearly how a market price is derived. So, if people are familiar on the Voyager app, when they go in, they click on an asset, there's typically a price with a chart that's on the top of the app.
Yeah.
That price that you see is actually the spread or the average price between the bidders and the askers. So in this example on screen here, you have an example of an order book. And up top here, you have the prices and quantities of what people are selling. And down here, you have the requests of the amount of people and the price, excuse me, the amount people want to buy and the price.
Yeah.
So the spread is really, it's the difference between the two is the spot price, right? So that the average between the bid and the ask, kind of shown another way here in the middle of the page. You've got the orders to buy, you've got the orders to sell, they meet in the middle.
So really fast. So right now, just looking at this, I see that there's more red than there is green. So is that because there's more selling pressure, or what's kind of going on there, or not necessarily? Or
Yeah, so simple supply and demand, right? Now, the supply is going to be the amount of tokens that are on the exchange and up for sale, right? And the demand is going to be, how big the green side is, the order book. This can be manipulated, right? You could put in some large sales and then cancel them. So it's an indicator. It's not the only one, but it kind of gives you a feel for, hey, are there more buyers or sellers? You can kind of see, is it even, or is it tilted one way or the other?
yeah,
That gives you an idea of the short-term supply and demand on that given exchange. Now, the price that you see in Voyager, because they aggregate 20 different exchanges and market makers, that's an average price of what the price or the spread is on exchanges, right? And that's how the price of an asset is determined. It's whatever the most recent market price that someone bought the asset. That's how a price is determined. Price multiplied by supply equals the market cap. So the market cap is just a byproduct of the latest sold price and then the supply of the token that's circulating. So those are just the basic fundamentals. And I think you have to kind of understand that when you're talking about tokenomics and price expectations, because that really is fundamentally what it is. It's the spread is the current spot price. You've got order books of people wanting to buy and people wanting to sell. And then so having volume and having demand is extremely important for the price of a token, because if nobody's trading, if no one's selling and no one's buying, the price just kind of sits there.
yeah,
And it doesn't take a lot of volume to,
move it up or down.
if there's a pretty decent spread here, then the price of the token could go down quite a bit because there's just not a whole lot of activity going on. And this will be a key point later when we talk about VGX. So just wanted to kind of cover that the buy and the sell, right? Of course, when you go to an exchange, there's going to be a maker or taker fee to do the buying and selling. The one advantage that I'll call out for Voyager is they don't charge you the buy and the sell. They find you the best spread, and then they take a percentage of the profits that they give you. So that is just kind of the fundamentals and the basics on how an order book works, how an exchange works, and how a price of a token is determined.
Okay. Awesome. Hey, Kerry. So, all right. A lot of people, and I know myself, like when I look at tokens, one of the things that I look at is it inflationary, and then I kind of look at the inflationary rate and whatnot. I think we all know that VGX is inflationary. I do have some questions about the inflation rate, though. Do you want to kind of go ahead and maybe explain it, and then maybe you'll answer my question, and if you don't, I'll go ahead and see if maybe you can answer it.
Yeah. So an inflationary token is just something that has a supply that increases over time. The US dollar is, inflated quite a bit recently in the last couple of years. I think it's 60% in the last 5 years, probably 30%
like
of
that,
in the last 24 months. It's an awful lot of supply increase, right? VGX has tokenomics, and we can cover this actually. Let me go to this page. So, well, actually, let me go to here. So a lot of people are familiar with CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. And one way you can determine the current price of how things are trading is just simply looking at this list. You have the list of the price. If you want to look at a token like a VGX, you can type in VGX, and that'll bring you to the page. And you can get a lot of really cool information at a page like this. And One thing I really like to look at is Etherscan, because that's the distributed public ledger. So you get to view the contract and who's buying and selling, how many people are holding, and you can kind of, get quite a bit of information from there, and you're going to get the facts. You don't always necessarily get the facts when you're looking at some of these high level statistics, especially with the token that has a disclaimer here about, Voyager 1.0 token getting merged with the LGO token and the swap
Yeah.
timeline, right? That kind of muddies some of the waters. I saw a tweet earlier today that was going around that I think it was CoinMarketCap was the source, and it made it look like the circulating supply and the total supply and were in alignment, and it was a different number than what the actuals were. So it's good to always kind of vet things by using the actual ledger through Etherscan.
Yeah.
So in this kind of a view, you can typically get trading volume, right? It looks like today's a above average day at 5.8 million. The token supply here, 284 million. You can get some quick information about the chart and the stats. But the main thing I wanted to point out here is getting to Etherscan, because this is where you can find the real tokenomics good stuff. So right here on the homepage, you get the maximum supply. So this is the current supply of VGX as it sits right now. This is the number of holders. Now, this is a little bit deceptive in regards to VGX, because most of VGX is actually held by Voyager within the app because of the stakers. Let me, go back here.
So then that means that there's like 3,900 something, like say people in Australia, things like that people like.
Yeah. And now
Okay.
this also is exchanges, as well as anybody who is holding the VGX token in like a MetaMask or any kind of other Ethereum wallet.
Okay.
And then it shows here the number of transactions or transfers going on. Now, on below here, you'll see all of the transactions that are occurring that we can see on chain. Sometimes things are exchanged internally. So when Voyager goes and pays the monthly rewards out of the growth pool, those are actually coming out of their internal supply, because they have the majority of the growth pool staked. So when you are looking at the holders on Etherscan and you look at this top address, this contract or this address right here is actually the staking contract for the VGX token. So if you ever want to, at any point in time, hey, how many VGX are staked? You can actually see right here, 72% are staked. Here's
And
the actual token
that's by
quantity.
the Voyager company, you said? By Voyager or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the amount of tokens that are currently staked, the VGX tokens. So we have 72% of the total supply. So nearly 205 million out of 284 million are currently staked. This second wallet here is actually, I'll show you kind of how you can read the details, but there's 23 million VGX token in this wallet, which is 8% of the supply. And what this wallet is, when you go and you dig into the details, is you can actually filter for this wallet. And let me see if you can pick up on what this is. So here's a bunch of ERC20 tokens. You got 151 million of Shiba, 52 million of Chainlink, 22 of Decentraland, 13 of Engine. You got a large USDC balance, Matic, Ocean, BAT, Phantom, StormX. Does this list sound familiar?
Yeah.
Sand, Serum,
And
right?
these are all the tokens that are on Voyager, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So what this wallet is, and it has a lot of activity on it. So what this wallet is actually Voyager's, liquidity wallet. So what they're, typically when people are on the app and they're putting buy and sell orders in and they're moving things around internally, at least from an Ethereum wallet base, that's what this wallet is. It's
Okay.
Voyager held tokens and transactions that might be occurring on chain, in and out of the Voyager account. So if we go back a little bit there, so think of it this way: if Voyager's got 204 million out of 284 million stake, that's 72%. And we know that the supply is a 7% staking or inflation, right?
Yeah.
So if we wanted to actually calculate how inflationary VGX is, aside from the growth pools, we could do simple calculation, right? We could say, if we copy this amount here, or 72%, right? So we copy that and we multiply it by 7%. You get 5%.
Okay. Oh, okay. So the inflationary, the 7% doesn't come from the total supply. It only comes from what they have
It only
staked.
comes from what's staked.
Oh,
I don't know why this is.
that's huge there.
Yeah. So I wanted to, let me throw a calculator up.
That is huge. All right. So, okay. That's really good.
Yeah. Hopefully you can you see the calculator?
Yeah, I can see the calculator.
Okay, so it's 7%, right? Multiplied by 72, what was it? 72.03%,
Mm-hmm.
right? Equals, so 5.04% is the inflation.
So, in one of my videos, pretty much what I said was, if the interest rate is beating the inflation, you're doing good. So, at this point here, we see that the inflation rate is 5%, whereas the interest rate is 7%. So, are we beating the inflation?
Yeah, so let's take this percentage and let's multiply it by the so it's 5% of the total supply, right? We already determined 72% staked is how we got here, right? So if we take 5% and then we go back to the Voyager token, so the 284,225. I agree with Baroness. I do not like computer calculators.
Yeah, me neither.
But if we were to multiply this by this number here, the total current supply, you're looking at 14,332,000 tokens that would be issued at the current staking rate for the year. For the year. So there's 14 million there. There is a growth pool for year 2 in September, the year 2 start of the Voyager VLP. There'll be 20 million added.
20 million, exactly.
Right. So if we add 20 million to that, there's 200,000. There's 20 million. You're looking at 34,332,178 plus the current supply, which is this number. So you're looking at, if I did that right, 304 million tokens.
Something like 304 million tokens.
Yeah. At the current rate. If we were just to kind of freeze time and say, hey, we're only going to ever have 72% staked, we got the 20 growth pool, you're looking at 304 million tokens.
And then this growth will slow because if we look at the white paper, year 3 to 8, they're only adding 10 million tokens.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. So there's 2 inflationary mechanisms that are in the tokenomics. There's the 40 million growth pool for year 1, which is already in the 284 number we've been talking about. There's 20 million, which will come in September 2022 for this year 2, and then 10 million in years 3 through 8, and that will be, at least to my understanding, up for community vote.
Yeah.
Potentially VGX holders will be able to vote on whether or not there's a growth pool or whether or not we keep the staking rewards at 7%. Those should be items that come up for vote that we can all kind of have a say in the future.
Okay. And
so,
what's the growth pool used for specifically? The growth pool is used for...
The growth pool is used for the Voyager loyalty program.
I see. So that's what they pay to us?
Yeah. So this isn't the actual loyalty program. This is my proposed loyalty program.
Yeah.
But, so the 7%, that comes just from the tokenomics. Everybody who's staking the token gets the 7%. The interest boosters and on the Bitcoin, the USDC, the Ethereum, those actually get paid out of the growth pool, as do the referral bonuses. Those get paid out of the pool. And potentially we'll see a burn off of withdrawal fees as well, where supply would actually be reduced, slightly for withdrawal fees. So there's a few dynamics there at play, but they all are primarily being done out of the growth pool, and the growth pool is part of this 204 million that's staked.
Okay.
And one thing that's really cool, if you ever wanted to just kind of chart this, there's this analytics button. If you click that, you can actually look at the supply, and you can see it like a range, right? So this right here, this big spike up, that was the growth pool, right, in the beginning
Yeah.
of the VLP in late August, the token swap, right? So you can kind of get a really good gauge on, what's going on at a given time. And
So
when I
is
look at the
this?
last month, here's the last month.
Yeah. Is that how we would tell? Because I know I've heard some people say, "Hey, Voyager is going to need to go in and buy more tokens, this and that." How can we tell, like, say, how much they have in reserve to pay to us? Like, if they're running low and they need to go in and purchase, is that a thing? Do they actually go in and purchase more tokens, or is that kind of like made up?
No, absolutely. So right now, all those rewards that we just talked about, the refer a friend, the interest boosters, and all that, that is being paid out of the growth pool. So the
Yes.
company's using that growth pool to pay community rewards. That it's something that's part of the contract between the users of the platform and the company, right? The company gets that growth pool to help incentivize bringing and keeping users on the platform, and so that's something that's completely transparent. We know about it. And why I say inflationary tokenomics are good for a utility token is because if your user base is inflationary and you're gaining customers and
Mhm.
funded accounts, you need a token supply that also inflates so that more people can participate in the rewards of the platform, right? Otherwise, you're going to have to continually revise the token tiers on, have a quarterly basis, half a year basis. It
Yeah.
wouldn't really be sustainable because eventually the
It would.
demand would far outstrip the available supply, and then there would be a large barrier of entry into getting into the program unless there was some inflationary mechanism that
Exactly.
put more tokens out there. So it actually needs to be inflationary in my opinion, because until the point in time where Voyager's funded accounts become deflationary, the tokenomics don't need to be deflationary.
Yeah, because
The
of
other purpose, of course, it serves is that for those of us that have worked really hard in getting our tiers and our, kind of basing our strategy off of passive income off of a staking reward, well, everybody plans to use that staking reward at some point for passive income, right?
Mhm.
So we would be distributing tokens from, people that have already hit their levels into people coming onto the platform so then they can start getting into their VLP tiers.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
more people that come onto the platform and participate in the VLP, the more sticky the tokenomics, because it's all part of supply and demand. The more people joining VLP and locking up their tier means that there's less supply because people aren't giving up their tier.
Yeah, yeah. No one wants to give up their tier. The what it
Exactly.
gives you is way too good.
It's
I mean,
way
who
too good.
wants to give up those boosts and all that, the referrals, and it's too
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, exactly. And so what you see here on the staking balance, so these are the daily transactions, and you can see, we started January 7th, so 1 month ago, at 203, just under 203 million tokens that were being staked, and that has grown. It's up at 204.66 million. I will say that that's a little bit less than what we normally see in terms of tokens being added and staked, and that kind of goes back to probably another question that we'll see, which is, hey, why is the token price down or kind of just stalling
Yeah,
compared to what it's been in the past? And so you kind of go back and look, like, token swap time frame, right? So let's go after token swap. So you had the growth pool stake being added here, um, and then you had, as you can see, you chart this line 100 and let's see. So roughly September 7th, which how many months ago would that have been? 5 months ago, we
around
had
there. Yeah,
180 million tokens staked.
180 million. Okay,
Yeah, so we've seen quite an increase.
in
204.
yeah,
So 204 over one. What was it? 180.
because this year, how much was added? We added, was it year one, 40 million?
We're seeing a 13 million increase. No, this should be after the This should be after all of the inflation of the growth pool. But so we've seen in 5 months a 13% increase in the amount of tokens staked. That's pretty good, right? We're adding 2% or so a month. That's not bad. So that's kind of, you can go back and actually look at the facts because it is a public ledger. All the analytics are already here on Etherscan. You can see how many tokens are staked. You can see, you can look at charts. Stone Cold will often put charts out there. I put in some charts out there. This is where that comes from. So everybody has access to it. It's free. You just come out here and take a look at the addresses. So let's go back to the token. So if we go back to the token and we're looking at the main page and we're looking at the holders, so we have 72% of the supply staked. We have 8% of the tokens that are trading in and out of every day in liquidity, right?
Yeah.
And then you have exchanges, right? You have Binance has a few wallets out here. You can see 4 wallets. So that kind of makes sense, right? Because Binance has a USDT pair, an ETH pair, a BTC pair, and they also have a staking program. So people that are international can buy the VGX token and they can stake with Binance for up to 9% in rewards.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So the 72% that you see here is just what Voyager has staked. There's also some Binance staking and some other places where tokens can be held with rewards. So it's actually a higher than 72% staked.
Yeah.
And then you can see here, because Binance is an exchange. So if you got 20 million of trade float that's typically happening, that's a little bit less than 10% of the supply, then you've got 10%, or excuse me, 10 million, 20 million, 25. FTX has 1.5 million tokens. Coinbase has 232 million or 232,000 tokens. And then HitBTC has 278 tokens. And I'm not sure if some of these other wallets are also exchange wallets. They haven't been labeled such.
Mm-hmm.
But you can kind of do the math. 284 million, 204 million staked, 23 million being actively traded, and at least 20, let's say 35 million on exchanges. You roughly can kind of deduce from this that you got about 50 million tokens or so available for trade in terms of the floating supply.
Yeah.
So that's still quite a bit of tokens out there. It's going to take the community a little bit of time to buy up those tokens or to have new customers come on, learn about the VLP and buy up those tokens. But 50 million tokens can go pretty quick, right? How many adventurers is that?
I'm bad at math.
100,000?
100,000 around there?
100,000 adventurers. So it sounds like it's a lot, but when you kind of break it down that's only 100 adventurers or 100,000 adventurers. And then you look at the growth. So the customer growth of the Voyager platform is about 6% a month over month. They're growing roughly 100,000 customers a month. So if the 100,000 funded accounts that they bring in the month of February all decided to become adventurers, there'd be no more supply on exchanges.
Yeah. Now
so it can go really quick. So think about what the debit card catalyst can be in regard to the supply squeeze, right?
Yeah, it can be huge because I don't see. I mean, I've compared other crypto debit cards out there, and none of them are like this. Because I mean, you like with Crypto.com, you have to choose whether you want to stake your USD or if you want it on your debit card for use. You don't have both, integrated together, which is something that Voyager's doing. It's like you get the best of both worlds. You get your kind of like staking rewards, and you get to use it like cash. So
yeah,
I mean.
It's the best rewards program out there, period. There's literally no other card or banking product in the market that compete with what Voyager is planning to do with their banking solutions and their debit card. Yeah. VLP 2.0 comes out. Hopefully we get some of that proposal implemented maybe, and then it further amplifies the demand part of the demand supply equation. The balance heavily tilts towards demand. Once the cards are out in the hands of people and they're using the product, and the VLP new tier structure is announced, there should be ample demand to go into the supply demand equation. Now, that will result in two things. One thing you mentioned earlier. So once Voyager is paying us our rewards from spending and from savings and from referring and from trading on their platform, that 38 million growth pool, even though it's being staked, is not going to last very long.
Yeah.
So what happens is once they've exhausted using the growth pool to pay the rewards, they will have to then go out here to Binance and to FTX and to hit BTC and to Coinbase and Gate, and they're going to have to open market buy, going back to that example I showed you here, which would make this green side of the order book be a lot bigger than the red side.
Yeah.
Now
So-
that means that if there's more buying demand than there's supply available to buy, then people are going to have to pay a higher price to acquire the token.
Yeah, so this kind of reminds me of like stocks. Like kind
Yeah.
of when I'm thinking stocks is like when a company is thinking that their company is going to do well, they go out there and they purchase some of their shares. Is there any way that we can tell like if Voyager has been like if they have confidence in themselves, they'd be purchasing the VGX token, right? Is there any way we can tell like if they're doing that actively or there's just no need because we have so much right now or
So their confidence in their token would be them utilizing their growth pool, which means that their user base is growing, which means there's more trading rewards, which means they're making more money. And then if they have to open market or buy VGX in order to pay the community rewards,
send the price up.
this sends the price up, but that's good for the company, right?
Yeah.
Because it means that when that growth pool comes around, that another 20 million, that means that they have a bigger marketing budget. That means they can go get more users. And what do more users mean? More users means more trading volume, which means
exactly
more revenue. So it's positive for Voyager, the company, to have the token go up. It's positive to, for that reach of that marketing program and for people to come on board, because the more users, the more they spend money, the more profit. Shareholders are happy, token holders are happy. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Now, in one of the VGX streams that you guys do on Twitter, what are they called? AMAs.
Yeah.
I heard you say something that was like super interesting. Now, a lot of people were complaining about the boosts being paid out in VGX, which, by the way, this month they weren't paid in VGX. I don't know if you know anything about that.
I guess that they didn't have the back end tooling quite set up as fast as they thought, so they just continued to pay in kind. But it was supposed to have been paid in VGX boosters, but it was in kind again.
Now, you said that, in the AMA, you said that would again add pressure to the price of VGX, right? That it was going to add some positive pressure, meaning that they're going to pay out more VGX and would that cause the price to go up of VGX, or what do you think?
Yeah, so what they're doing is within the staking pool, right, and within this 20 million tokens held in their liquidity pool, what they're doing is they just be transferring some of this liquidity pool, which is part of the growth pool, back into the hands of the stakers that make up this 204 million. So the more that the liquidity pool depletes, both here and on the exchanges, then that's when you start to see the supply squeeze and the price shoot up.
Yeah.
So Voyager's not having to go out and put supply on Coinbase, so it impacts the supply demand equation and holds the price down. They're just internally shifting Voyager held community funds in the growth pool to VLP members. So there's no negative pressure happening on the market for impacting the price negatively. There's only positive price pressure if they have to go out and buy open market. Because Voyager's not profiting off the token. It's a utility token. It's not a security. So what they're doing is they're using it as a utility to pay the VLP, and they'll continue to do so even after that supply is exhausted.
Yeah. So in your opinion, do you think that's a good move, paying out in the boost, the extra 0.5, 1%, 1.5? Do you think that's a good move by Voyager?
100%, because what it does is that it allows them to use a tool in their toolbox with the tokenomics of the utility program to shift the rewards to that pool of money that they have through the tokenomics that pays the most loyal customers, right? and they don't have to go out and open market buy BTC and ETH and additional USDC to pay the interest rewards, because that impacts the bottom line. They have to pull from their revenue or that they make in other areas of their business in order to pay those interest rewards. So you saw a couple changes happen here with 2022. They put caps on BTC and on ETH, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're shifting the rewards to the VGX token. That gives them as a company more funds to add interest to other programs, or to acquire a new line of business, or to pay advertisers. It gives them more flexibility by not having to dip into that P&L to go out and buy all the stuff on the market.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it will create, because they're going to be paying more in rewards. Eventually, again, when the growth pool is exhausted, they have to buy VGX, which is a good problem for them. They would rather be buying VGX on the open market than buying BTC.
And another thing here is that what Josh said here, the assets under management shoot up, makes the stock look good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because how many people in the VLP are holding tokens, right? The token price goes up, the AUM goes up.
Yeah. I know I heard a lot of people telling me about your proposal. I think I've heard it through the AMAs, but you have a nice. Oh, that's nice. So I've never actually seen this, so it's my first time seeing this. So I definitely want to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way that this works is, to me, the most important thing, with the token supply being as small as it is to introduce a lower barrier of entry in order for people to start participating in realizing the rewards of the program. And in doing so, I put together a tier that starts at 50 tokens. And this does two things. So there's the basic tier that we all know and love, which is all of the rewards that they advertise on their website, the USDC savings, the 9%, the 25 referral reward. It's still a really good, attractive rewards program, right? But if a customer wants to get a debit card, just like in a Bank of America or Wells Fargo, if you're not holding a whole lot of money on their platform, they charge you a debit card fee. Mm-hmm. So this would be the stick and the incentive to move people into the carrot, right?
Yeah.
Stick in the carrot. So the incentive, you're incentivized to get yourself a free debit card and checking account that's going to give you checking account rewards and an interest booster by just getting yourself 50 VGX.
Okay. So I kind of see what you're. So right here you have 1, 2, 3. So it would be a 5-tier system.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's right. And the way this would work is I've scaled the first 3 tiers to be multiples of 10, so 50, 500, and 5,000. And then the top 3 tiers to be a factor of 2, so 5,000, 10,000, and 20,000. So we have a very big gap right now between the Explorer and Navigator tiers. And there's a lot of people that are, working really hard trying to get that 4x up, but it's pretty daunting. You're talking $40,000, right?
It's a lot,
so, to get to a Navigator tier, 40,000 plus. So it's a big leap. So I think that you could add a lot of value and incentivize the people moving from Explorer up to add a higher tier in between those two. And then you have a lot of incentive over in the Trailblazer tier, because that's the easy one to get into and start your journey. Now, the way that this would look graphically, so there's not a lot of tokens to go around. So there's not a lot of navigators, mariners, explorers, adventurers in this model. So let me show you how I made this model. So we know that there's a token supply, which we just did earlier. It actually, so 284 million, I think, is what the current supply. Let's update this live right now. Let's do this. So 284 million, 725. Let's put that right here. Okay. So that's the current supply. Now, there's a 20 million growth pool that we know is going to hit in September. And I had just plugged, 12 million in there. So let's actually update this. Let's say, let's do what we did earlier. Let's take 72% of 7%, right?
Mm-hmm. Of 7%.
Right?
Like 5.02 or something like that, right?
Yeah, multiplied by the current circulating supply. And that's going to give us an actual real representation of the staking. So let's say right now we're going to theoretically top out at 318,550,000 tokens at the current staking rate by the end of this year. Okay, with no burn, which they've discussed.
Yeah.
Now, I came up with 2.8 million funded accounts because Coinbase, when they, in the bear market, 2019, they hit a milestone of 1 million funded accounts, or active monthly traders, as they call them. The very following year, in 2020, with less products than what Voyager is going to market with this year, with the debit card, stocks, etc., they were able to hit 2.8 million. And mind you, they were pretty much only trading Bitcoin and Ethereum. They didn't have a whole lot of altcoins. So if Voyager can get to if Coinbase can get to 2.8 million accounts, basically selling Bitcoin and Ethereum with no checking account and all the cool stuff that Voyager has, I think this is a pretty realistic target of funded accounts that we can see.
For sure.
Right? So now let's take a look. So if I take that theoretical supply at the end of year one, and the Voyager loyalty program stays as I proposed here, 3 of these tiers exist today, then you could only
really fast. We want because I've been hearing a lot of like this black tier or like the tier above the navigator. So in your proposal, that wouldn't exist, or
no? The higher tier to me is in between Navigator and Explorer. Navigator is the black tier because look at this. At 318.5 million supply, at 20,000 tokens required, you can only theoretically have, if you had no other customers in Voyager besides navigators, there could only be 16,000. 15,928. Now, I don't think a lot of people have done the math and realize how small that is.
Yeah.
Off of 2.8 million customers.
That's like not even 1%.
That's not even 1%. It's 0.07%.
Wow.
So do we need a higher tier?
No. No. Do we know how many navigators we have now? I mean, that'd be a interesting.
I would ballpark it at probably 5,000.
About 5,000. Okay.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
I think that the participation rate in the VLP is a lot lower than I think a lot of people would assume it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a theoretical maximum of 15.9. Mariner would be 31.9. Explorer would be 63.7. So if you just take, and the Adventurer would be 637. So even if you didn't even have a Mariner tier, but you just kind of did the theoretical math, if we get to that 2.8 million funded accounts, the top 3.47% of all VLP customers, funded accounts on the platform, would be in the tiers as they exist today. That's pretty exclusive, right?
Yeah.
So that really points to a dire need for a lower tier so that more people can get their foot in the door, start earning rewards and getting on the program. So this is why this 50 token tier is vitally important.
Well, I think it's needed because I mean, I'm thinking of my own experience when I first got into Voyager. The reason why I didn't purchase a VGX token was because I needed so much, and I was like weighing the rewards and whatnot, and I was like, it's not gonna pay for itself until I added more money into my Voyager account, right? When it kind of made a little bit more sense to jump into the VLP. Right now, someone that let's say has $2,000 on the Voyager platform, it wouldn't really make sense for them to jump into the Adventurer, whereas Trailblazer might be the better option for them.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. The average account, like if you look at Coinbase, you look at Robinhood, you look at WEBULL, you look at a lot of these platforms, the typical account size is around $4,000. Voyager is actually higher; it's closer to 6,000. So they're pretty high in the market position there. But if you think about that, if 4,000 is the average for people that are using these fintech products, I mean, at 50, or excuse me, at 500 tokens for the adventurer at $2 or whatever that is today, that's 25% or more of the average account balance. And so if you want to buy Bitcoin or you want to have a lot of money in USDC or anything else, that's where kind of that conflict of interest, for some of the
Exactly.
people just getting in, they're like, well, I don't really know a whole lot about VGX and what it does. I want to hold these other assets, right? That's why I think we have actually pretty low participation. I think it's increasing month to month at 15% or so, like Steve indicated. But I
Yeah.
think the actual participation rate is actually quite low at the moment. And I think if by introducing a 50 token tier, you would get a massive uptick in the participation rate of the VLP. So what I've assumed here is a 33% take rate. I didn't pull this number out of thin air. So the verified accounts of people that download the app is around 3 million. And a quarter ago, it was 40% take rate. If you do funded accounts versus verified. So they were 40% successful in shaking downloaded accounts into funded.
Yeah.
After the Dallas Mavs promo in that quarter ended, where they had a ton of download interest, that had actually dropped down to 33%. So I said, okay, let's use the most recent number. By the way, this number for Coinbase is less than 10%.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's actually 7% in Coinbase's last quarterly
So
report.
wait, only on the new accounts or on all accounts?
Yeah, Coinbase had 7 million funded accounts or active monthly traders out
Yeah.
of 73 million downloads.
I see. Now I wonder if it's like for like myself, because I'm on Coinbase. Like I'll get on Coinbase, but it's just to buy and then transfer out. That's the only reason why I'll get on Coinbase. I wonder if it counts me as a non.
It would, because you're doing active trades.
Okay.
Yeah. So it has a very good take rate. Now let's assume that we can make the same extrapolation of, okay, if we're good at getting 33% of the accounts funded, let's make the assumption that 33% of the accounts that are funded are also going to take up membership in the VLP. And if that's the case, you get the chart right over here. This chart is a representation of what we just walked through.
Okay.
So you tell me, do we need a higher tier than Navigator?
No, I honestly at this I don't think we need a higher tier. I really like the whole Mariner because even for myself, like let's say I'm thinking just as a regular person, I get to the Explorer tier, and then I think of gaming, I think of finance, it's very gamified, and it just seems once you reach Explorer, it's going to be so difficult to reach that next step, that Navigator. I think there needs to be like another stepping stone in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that whole Mariner.
Especially if you put it at 4% cash back on your checking and 11% on your savings.
Yeah.
You think people are going to be incentivized to take the leap to get to 10,000?
Oh yeah.
I think it's a pretty good value.
Yeah.
DJ Crypto is asking me, well, how can you afford to pay these rewards? And this was before I kind of built out the visual here. And I
Mhm.
said, it's not that many customers that would be receiving this high of rewards. So it's psychological. The rewards actually paying out these top 3 or 4 tiers because of the penetration. Again, the top tiers, Adventurer through Navigator, 3.5% of the funded accounts is what this model would say at 2.8 million customers by the end of this year.
Yeah.
So you'd have 30% of your customers in the Trailblazer tier and 67% of the customers just being basic funded accounts.
Yeah.
So if you're an Explorer today or you're a Navigator today, you're already in the top 1% of where we will likely be by the end of the year.
Okay. I see.
So
Now,
yeah.
I know someone I asked on Twitter, and someone was worried. They were worried about, if you move let's say, if you move the tiers, that they would kind of decrease their saving rates and whatnot. So let's say they're getting a 10.5 on USDC, in your tier, they would actually get raised. So I kind of like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the majority of the dollars that the company will be spending is going to be spent right here in these first 2 tiers.
Yeah.
Because that's literally 96.5% of the customers at a 33% take rate.
Out of 33, yeah.
Yeah, so if you did a 50% take rate of the program, it'd still be 94.7% of the accounts. You'd still have the Adventurer Plus being 5% of the top 5%. You'd have the Explorer Plus being the top 7, 0.75%. Like the numbers are overwhelmed. Like if you're Explorer to Navigator today, honestly, that's high roller club in the future.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well,
Adventurer is nothing.
When it was at $5,
to,
how much did that explode? Like, let's say $5, 5 times. That was $25,000.
You want to see something else I was noodling around with Aldo the Apache?
Sure.
All right.
Let's check it out.
Oh, by the way, Lucky Luciano did this really good Voyager yield calculator and cashback calculator. So if anybody hasn't played around with it, feel free to check out his Twitter and download a copy. And you can kind of plug in, hey, if I put this many dollars in and I'm at this level and this is what I think the price will be, what you would earn in rewards.
Hey, wow.
Yeah, you can play around with it.
Yeah.
And it compounds so you can see, many months out into the future what it would look like.
Yeah.
But here's what I was messing around with. And I had kind of done this a while back. I kind of did the same thing what Lucky was doing. You do, put a balance in for Navigator and see what that means in 3 years. You'd have an additional 4,658 tokens, increasing over time.
If you're in
1445 as a navigator.
As a navigator.
Yeah. So just even if you didn't buy any more tokens and just used interest only, you start the year at 20,000, you'd end the year at 21,446.
That's 1 year. Oh, I see. It's by month there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But here's a little exercise we were doing. So looking at the supply. So again, forecasting the 20 million growth pool. I just put in here 13 million staked. So we're in the ballpark of what we just discussed, right?
Yeah.
And
so is that how many tokens there would be in 2026, right?
Yeah. So yes, it is. So, so I kind of modeled out the inflation.
Okay.
Maybe shrink it one more here. So I can, all right. Can you see that all right?
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Okay. So this is year-end numbers, by the way, not year beginning numbers. Okay. So if we play it super, super safe and we say if Voyager token just got back to its all-time high, $7 by the end of this year, that would mean you'd have a market cap of this. And let's say you're an Explorer, 5,000 tokens. Okay.
Yep.
Well, then you've got 35,000 in value. And let's say Voyager gets to 2.4 million funded accounts. So that's the 6% monthly growth rate, annualized. Assuming they were at 1.2 million funded accounts to start.
Yeah.
The year. It gets us really close to that 2.8 ballpark of the Coinbase example, right? I'm just kind of playing it more on the conservative side. I do think they will get over 3 million funded accounts if they can get the debit card in the hands of everybody that wants one by April.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got to get the debit card in the hands of everybody that wants one in order to get these numbers, in my opinion, because they don't have to, but it's going to go a long way. The stock trading platform, if they can get it out before September, another big catalyst for users. But anyways, I digress. Back to just the 49 states that we have now, I think it's possible to get to 2.5 to 3 million customers, not counting international expansion and all the awesome products, just what they have today.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be 131 funded accounts. If
131 VGX per account, right?
131 VGX available per funded account.
So if you have more than that, you're winning.
Yeah. So let's say here we've got year 2, we've got the 20 million growth pool in here, and we got the 5% staking rate that we just covered a second ago, right? The 72% of 7% is 5%. That's the fundamental assumption here. So every single year I have the growth pool accounted for. So nobody ping me in the comments. It's all included.
And that
Maximum inflation, no burn. Okay.
2026 is going to be the year that they're adding still 10 million, right, to the growth
So
pool.
so this is so I'll go through this. So right here, the way I'm calculating, I'm saying if we get to just a $7, all-time high by the
Yeah.
end of the year, and the funded account, assuming that the token increases at the same amount of funded accounts, because we'll have enough demand to meet the supply, there'll be a supply squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just were to make the assumption that price would grow with the amount of funded accounts, that's what this is assuming. Now, it's as I'm kind of indicating here at a 50 token tier by this many funded accounts, you'd actually have 241%
Wow.
favorability to the demand side of the equation.
There wouldn't be enough.
So this price would most likely be 2.5x
Yeah.
that. So I think that this is very conservative, but this is like a worst case scenario in my opinion. I don't think that we're going to see lower than 7, but just worst case scenario. Say you were Explorer today, we just get to all-time high of 7, and funded accounts grow at a similar rate as we've seen throughout Voyager's history. This is what a 5-year model would look like. Now, I will say that when you start getting out here, so 2 million to 5 million to 9 million, this is right in line with what other companies have done. You look at like Robinhood, you look at Coinbase, you look at other comps. This is realistic.
And the platform's not even that good. I mean, honestly, like looking at Coinbase, it blows my mind that so many people are still on there. I'm just like, why when you have so many better options?
Right. So where this starts to really kind of be questionable is can they maintain that rate 4 years out? Obviously, they'll have international expansion. JP Morgan, I think, just recently said where they have like 70 million funded banking accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Like PayPal and Square had just passed the amount of accounts that JP Morgan had. It's roughly 60 million or so. That's one of the bigger banks in the country.
Yeah.
So if Voyager can continue to grow at their current pace, they're going to be within the next 10 years rivaling the size of a JP Morgan in terms of funded accounts.
Oof.
If they can keep the current pace. This will probably slow down at some point.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a little bit about half of what JP Morgan has. Now, granted, they've been around for 100 plus years, lots of mergers, all that kind of stuff, but they have inferior products. So how much market share are we going to take from them?
Yeah, I think, man, I think right now, if marketing from Voyager, I think mostly right now, all the marketing has been, what do you think? Like us, pretty much, right? There hasn't been much other than Gronk and stuff like that.
Well, a lot of online advertising.
Yeah.
A lot of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook posts out there.
I think I saw one. I'm not completely sure, but I kind of remember seeing a Voyager ad pop up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. There's ad. I mean, I don't have the ad version, but I know that they have one, the Gronk ad, or get up to 12% type.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and honestly, like, does anybody watch TV anymore besides sports? Like, what good does a TV ad really do?
Yeah, the only thing I watch on TV, live TV, is sports.
Yeah. So if you are referring, how effective are bank ads on TV? Have you ever watched a bank ad or even like a funny E-Trade commercial back in the day and said, "Oh, I got to run out and try E-Trade"? No. Or Schwab. It's like, no. Or contact your Edwards Jones office today. Like, does anybody follow up on that? Is that really effective other than name brand recognition? Not really. It's just kind of throwing money away. Yeah. But if you say, hey, we're going to give our community hundreds of millions of dollars to go promote the business, and they're going to hear about it from their friends and family, that's a lot more effective in terms of a marketing tool, right? That grassroots marketing, that personal touch, that here, this is my lived experience, let me share it with you. Exactly. That's more effective, and that's their approach. They do have, of course, the Dallas Mavericks and the National Women's Soccer League, and I'm sure they'll add a few others where there'll be some more brand recognition. But those are like they're really smart in the way they go about that, right? Because those are lower cost deals. You still get the banners on the court, on the top of the hoop or whatever, but it doesn't cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. So they're really, really smart at the way that they deploy their capital. I'm really impressed with what they do. They could do better from brand recognition. You know what actually do a lot for their brand is getting on NASDAQ.
Oh, that would be nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't even just for the stockholders. It'd be send it flying.
Yeah. So, they get out there on NASDAQ. They're available on any kind of traditional finance platform. They start getting incorporated in more ETFs. The stock's going to do well. Again, you start seeing it, maybe a few TV spots, internet spots, and then you have people talking about Voyager online and, with their friends and family. It's going to grow. We're 6% funded account growth a month at least.
Yeah.
That's what this model assumes. So let's do something a little bit more fun. Let's do what happens if we 5x the previous all-time high. Okay.
Good stuff, Big Tico.
Yeah. Big T kills the referrals.
Yeah.
Say you're an Explorer tier, 5,000 tokens. We get to a $35 price by the end of 2022. And you kind of continue on that path. Voyager keeps growing. We could be looking at $100 VGX by 2024.
Now, if it reaches that, it'd be obviously they'd have to switch the VLP. The VLP would have to change with it, right? As if the token price gets that high.
Yeah, so you have 39 tokens per funded account at 10 million funded accounts. I've always said that my 50 token recommendation model scales to around 6 or 7 million.
Yeah.
So when you get past that, 2-3 years out in the future, my proposed model would probably need a revision. Now, maybe you drop it to 40 or 21 token or 10 token tier, kind of looking forward thinking.
Yeah.
11. So by 2026, 11 is going to be all the available supply of a funded account would be out there.
Yeah. Now, what happened with? How did Binance? What was their? Are you familiar at all with their VLP? Because their token price shot up. So I'm wondering how did they handle their their loyalty program or whatever. I'm not. Are you at all familiar with it? Or
I never used Binance. I'm familiar with it in the form that it has a similar supply.
Yeah.
To VGX, and that they do burn tokens every quarter though, which is much different. And they have their own chain, which requires BNB to be bought and utilized. So there's a use case and utility there. And you can see here they have a lower supply than Voyager.
Yeah.
But can Voyager repeat that type of price action? Yeah.
At least what Crypto.com did. I mean, I find that completely, yeah.
Well, okay, so that's kind of what I did here. This starting point, by the way, that's why I put it at 35. Because yesterday, at least, maybe let's check it today. I was trying to get to Crow's market cap. So Crypto.com market cap 12.47. All right, let's get to 12.47 in this fun model. Okay, we're just having fun here.
Yeah.
12.47. Here you go. That'd be about $39 today.
Wow.
So heck, let's just call it $39.50. There we go. That's close. All right, so $39.50. Let's say we get to Crow's market cap today, which, it's kind of a down market right now. We're not even at all-time highs. The market cap of VGX would only be $12.5 billion. Your 5,000 token tier would be worth nearly $200,000. At 202.4 million funded accounts, you'd have 131 tokens available. That would scale to $79. You think people are going to be trying to sell out of their VGX position and move down a tier when they see something like this kind of a model and the potential?
Never. I mean, I know from my experience, I'll sell a little, but I'll never move down my tier. Never. Never sell below my tier.
Yeah. So the way I kind of like to look at it is, when I've earned enough rewards on the platform for free, just for being a user of the platform, and the price of the token and the rewards earned neutralize each other. So my cost basis is the rewards earned times the price.
Yeah.
You sell the position, and then your remaining position is a money printer for all of infinity.
Exactly.
And until they change the program to where it's no longer a money printer.
Yeah.
But literally, like, you have a free investment that gives you rewards every single month and pays you income.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you introduce things like lending, collateralized lending, you introduce stocks, you introduce retirement accounts, more utility, more token demand.
Is that in their plans, like a IRA or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. Escalating demand.
Wow.
So lending would lock up tokens. IRAs would lock up tokens. Uh, additional added utility would lock up tokens. Burning would reduce supply. Yeah. Yeah. All of these things are going to be price accretive in that demand of supply and demand, right? The demand is going to continue to go up. The supply is going to continue to go down.
Continue to go down. Exactly. Wow. I mean, every time that I hear you, I just get more and more bullish on VGX. Just hearing you talk, like I'm gonna go and buy some right now.
Yeah.
Aragorn had a question. He said, "What's the trickiest part of the tokenomics to VGX, and like, what's the easiest way to explain it?"
I think the trickiest part about the tokenomics is just the growth pool and trying to conceptualize the interest in the inflation. So many
Yeah.
people get turned off by the word inflation.
So I think that's one thing that I didn't fully understand. I thought 7% was the growth. I kind of saw growth pool 7%. Like I thought it was together, but now like listening to you, I see that 7% comes from what's being staked, which in reality is going to be more like 5% with what
Yep.
we have today. Plus, then this year it's 20 million, right? So
Yep.
plus the 20 million, so we get 5% plus 20. So a little something there.
Yeah.
So I fully didn't understand that. So I'm
Right.
glad that I heard you out on that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest misconception about the tokenomics is that, number one, it's that the rewards are actually being paid out of the growth pool. A lot of people think that Voyager's selling the tokens to us through the open market and causing downward pressure. That's a misconception. They think that the growth pool is, um, you know, bad, when in reality it's good. It gets the word out. It gets people more involved in the program. It gives the company more liquidity to go acquire new products and services for us, because they're not having to open market buy until they've used the growth pool first. And then what they're doing is, with the open market buys outside of the 7%, that's all price accretive.
yeah,
So a lot of people just I don't think, follow that. The other biggest thing about just is kind of what we talked about earlier. It's not so much on the tokenomics, but it's just about an understanding of how price is set in a market, and
yeah,
that you need volume to drive price.
yeah,
If nobody's trading the token, if there's sufficient liquidity to satisfy the buy orders, then the price of the token isn't going to go up.
exactly. I mean, you can have this deflationary token, say that it's,
Yeah,
but if there's more sell pressure, it's not going to matter.
right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, so you have to have the buy pressure outstrip the sell pressure, and you do that through a reduction of supply. So I like to use this example. Why is beachfront property in LA expensive,
people
or the
want it.
Hamptons in New York?
It's desirable.
It's desirable, but it's not often that you see things go on the market. The supply is scarce, right?
Yeah,
And when you do see, what kind of prices are you paying?
heavy prices. I mean, this market.
Heavy,
Yeah,
heavy prices, right?
yeah,
Because it's supply and demand. It's a desirable asset with small supply, which means you have a high price tag.
yeah,
It's the same thing here. The more we as a community takes VGX off the market, the less available supply there is to buy, which means the people that want to get into the VLP program have to pay a higher price for the token.
exactly. Now, what happens after the growth pool? Say year 8, right? Growth pool is that's the last year,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
I'm guessing if you really think of this in the future, the buying pressures can get really, really right. Buying pressure can get quite heavy. Is
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, so yeah, man, if you project this out even further, I mean, you're talking about at this point, Voyager's probably in Australia and New Zealand, which will make some of our friends very happy there. Shout out
Yeah.
to Lagertha and Spider-Man and the Hound. Uh, and then you get to the demand that's in India or the Philippines or Central and South America, beyond just Western Europe and the United States and Canada, right? There's a lot of market out there. Africa. Like if Voyager's global and they're offering amazing rewards and friendly centralized banking services that is easy to use. I mean, they could be huge. There could be a massive company, a massive brand, that lifestyle app of the future.
There you go.
That's the goal. And it's not just going to be 49 states. We already know that this year we will start to see the seeds will be planted in the field. In 2023 and beyond, we get to gather those harvests.
Yeah. Man.
Think of how big like India would be, or Central and South America. Think about the hundreds of millions of people, billions of people of addressable market to
It's a
reach.
lot. I mean, even just thinking about how much more we can reach here in the US, even just thinking
Yeah,
that's still
yeah,
huge.
yeah. Like right now, even at the end of this year, the Voyager token supply is less than 1% of the, well, it's the same as the population, but the funded accounts will be less than 1% market share in the United States. That's tiny.
Yeah.
Voyager's like 30 basis points market share right now. It's not even 1%. So when I say that we're early, like we are so early, like they're still in the kitchen making the food for the party.
Yeah.
Like we're so early.
Now, another thing. One of my videos I mentioned that staking, like, do you think that's possible? Saying like not staking, but like locking up your VGX in Voyager for say like another little boost. Would that be possible, or is that like out of the? I know that Voyager doesn't want that because they want active trades. That's how they make their money. But would that be out of like say out of the picture, or can that actually happen? Do you see that happening sometime, or
The staking going away?
no? I'm sorry. The like say giving me the option of like locking up my VGX and not selling it for like let's say a month or 2 or 3 months or something like that for an extra little boost on my interest.
Sure, like a certificate of deposit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's say Voyager offered a CD product where you can lock up your VGX for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, just like a CD. They would then take that deposit and then they would use that to probably, you know, trade,
Yeah.
or pay rewards, right? And in return, they're going to give you some extra interest on top of it. That takes supply out of the market, which makes the price go up, which theoretically they can arbitrage the price increases by taking that supply off and then return some of the profit to you and keep some for themselves. So that's a
Oh,
viable product in the future.
got it. So then by them offering something like that, they can also profit. It wouldn't
Mhm.
just be like a loss of money for them, right? Where
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. I mean, any kind of there's strategies for everything in finance.
yeah.
If you can't make money off something, you're doing something wrong. You
Yeah.
know, there's not a lot of loss leading products in finance. Even the checking account, service. I mean, their margin might be less than 1% because it's more of a acquisition and retention tool. That's how you get people in the door. You give them the product, you let them use it. Maybe your expenses for all the customer service and fraud billing and all the other types of costs with dealing with UCO and MasterCard might have a negative margin, but think about all the value that adds by having the checking account and uh, the value of the rewards program and the products, right? That gets more people on the platform. What are they doing? They're on the platform, they're buying crypto, they're trading stocks,
Yeah.
they're banking, AUM's going up, the stock price is going up, shareholders are happy, customers are happy, companies happy. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how the banks are supposed to operate, but they
But they
decided to go
don't.
veer down a different path.
Yeah,
They
they got
decided to
they
go
get
down the
greedy. They
path
keep all the
of
money.
we become the product,
Yeah,
they become the profiteers.
exactly. So you think obviously, like let's take for example, let's say someone has 10,000 USDC in Voyager. How much money do you think Voyager is making off those $10,000? And then obviously they're giving 9% to say the customer to me. How much money do you think Voyager's making off of that, or is that like strictly like a loss? The 9%. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if you go out and you look at the Cedar filings, and in the Cedar filings and in their quarterly reports, one of the pages down there will show you it'll say company A, B, C, D, and E, and it'll show
Yeah.
you the rates that they borrow at. It'll show you the most commonly borrowed products. So you can actually, and then on their P&L, you can actually see how much they make from lending services.
Oh,
I don't remember what the last quarterly report was, but I remember the summer one very well in July. And
yeah.
12% of Voyager's revenue was coming from rehypothecation or lending.
Wow.
So the majority of their revenue was coming off of the trading rewards, the spread that they make for their services.
Yeah.
And then the last report, there was a small portion because they started doing staking. There's a small amount of staking revenue and Coinify revenue that it in the most recent quarter, but I can't recall off the top of my head what the percentages are.
Yeah.
When I get the latest report, I'll be interested to see what the mix looks like.
Yeah,
But
we're gonna
yeah,
have to. Yeah, when that comes out, hey, you're more than welcome to come on here. We'll check it out. You could
sure.
break it down for me because
Yeah, I could break it down.
yeah,
Yeah,
that'd
so
be cool.
in that filing, if I go back to those ABCDE institutional borrowers, they're typically borrowing between 5% and 11%.
Yeah,
So what Voyager is lending out in Bitcoin or USDC or Doge or whatever, they're actually passing through the profits of that lending to us. Like
yeah,
they don't honestly, it's not really something that they are making a whole gain on. And they've actually demonstrated in the past that they will dip into their profits from their trading revenue to
they'll
pay
take a little bit of a
rewards.
loss, right? Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
it's important. They realize that the VLP, even the basic rewards, it's when they started offering rewards on their platform and they had the app on Android and Apple, and this is like late 2019, mid 2020, in that range when they started. Okay, now we have the app out on both major platforms, and now we're going to start offering interest. They started actually getting some traction. Right, took a while. By the end of 2020, they had less than 40,000 funded accounts. They
wow,
boost up the rewards. They offer more assets. Look what's happened in the last 13 months. They've grown their customers 1.1 million funded accounts and over 3 million total customers. Like, that's the power of that rewards program and offering more assets, easy access to trading things that aren't offered on a lot of other platforms. They
yeah,
were one of the first places to offer Sheeb, one of the only places to offer Doge, one of the first places to offer Avalanche and Luna. And so there's a huge value add that they provide, and they realize that. And it's only going to improve as they get more transferability on the platform. Imagine how many people are stuck in funds with Robinhood, all that Doge that's sitting on Robinhood and Bitcoin, and people don't know how to get it off. So they've got a wallet in beta. So
yeah.
what's going to happen? Just like
They're
in
gonna
Coinbase, you
transfer it
got
out,
money sitting on Coinbase or on Robinhood. What are you going to do with it?
transfer it out, get some interest somewhere else.
Exactly. And who's going to
Yeah,
benefit from that?
companies like Voyager.
Perfect. There you go.
Yeah,
So the whole idea, the misnomer that's out there about, oh, Voyager's holding our funds captive by not letting us transfer. That's not the case at all. Transferability of assets increases trading revenue for the company and AUM.
yeah.
They
It's
want
something that
that.
they
They
want.
just
Yeah,
have to, yeah, they just have to be compliant with the FINRA. They have
yeah,
to make sure they're compliant with AML, and they have to have the blockchain devs to be able to, actually have the transfers work.
yeah. Now, I mean, how how fast is it now? I haven't transferred out of Voyager now. I'm not sure if you've done it recently, but is it faster now to
Yeah.
transfer out of Voyager? Like, how long does it take to say transfer some Bitcoin out of Voyager to say another wallet?
Bitcoin's a slower network, and I think it's about 3 confirmations. So, you know, 30 to 90 minutes for Bitcoin, but that's a slow example. I did some ETH recently, and it took
Yeah.
less than 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Um,
So I think I'm gonna stop because all right. So the last time I transferred some was quite a while ago. I think like 6 months ago. And for example, yesterday I needed to transfer some Bitcoin quickly, and so I was like, should I do it on on Voyager? And I was like, no, it could take a little bit longer because I think last time I did it, it took about maybe like 6 or 7 hours for me to receive my funds. But that was back when Voyager was the whole scaling thing and all that was
yeah.
going on. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it through Voyager. I'm gonna do it through Coinbase. But one thing that I paid very close attention to what was going on in Coinbase, and they charged me a $3 fee. And I always thought that they charged me a $3 fee, and then that the price was going to be very close to spot price. But it's actually the spread is actually quite big on Coinbase still. So they charge a fee, and the spread is still quite large. So I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, from now on, I'm just going to buy on Voyager and transfer out of Voyager.
Yeah, so if you buy on regular Coinbase, there's a fee for buying.
Yeah,
If you buy on Coinbase Pro, there's a maker or taker fee depending if you're doing a market order or a limit order. And also depending on how active a trader you are, how many trades you're making in a month or
yeah.
whatever
I don't
time
make that
frame
many
is,
trades
they have
on.
different
Yeah,
rates.
yeah,
So it kind of depends on how active a trader you are and how often you're using the platform. But then you also pay network fees on the transfer out.
yeah, yeah. I did. I paid some transfer fees there too.
Right. So there's no avoiding transfer withdrawal
Yeah, I
fees.
know.
Unless, I mean, Celsius is the only one that eats the fees.
Oh
So
wow.
everybody else charges withdrawal fees.
Yeah, yeah,
But then again, you can't really buy or swap on Celsius. You can only send to it. So I mean, it kind of makes sense.
yeah. Do we have any last questions from anyone on the stream about anything that you guys want to ask Obi-Wan or myself? Go ahead and put them down here. But yeah, let's check out what you got. Anything else for us, Obi?
Oh, I can talk about whatever you want to talk about. The market's doing pretty well. Here's a quick TA while
Oh,
people
nice.
people go
Yeah.
over some questions. Here's what I'm seeing. So I'm looking at Bitcoin on the weekly, and I've got a couple different indicators I use. I use the EMA ribbon, so the exponential moving averages. And I'm also looking at the golden ratios and 350-day moving average timeframes. So that's designated here by these lines. So, um, and then what I did is I looked at the RSI, which is the purple.
Yeah.
So the average is the yellow. The relative strength index is the dark purple.
Are these weekly candles? Are we
These are weekly
weekly? Okay.
candles, and I've got Heikin-Ashi candles, so it shows the trend more than the
Yeah.
where things close at. So what I was looking or observing here is that we had you see right here where the purple line crosses over the yellow line.
Mm-hmm. That's a
So
bullish. Is
that's
that
a bearish cross.
bearish cross?
Yeah, designated by this red line, which I just
Oh,
marked
I
there,
see. I
the
see. Got it.
vertical
Yeah.
line. So the week of August 31st, we had a bearish cross of the RSI. And then we saw that kind of trade there for a few weeks, or really about 6 weeks, until we got back to a little bit of upwards momentum, and we had a bullish cross where the
It
purple
turned
crossed
bullish. There
the
we go. Yeah.
the golden, right? And then we went on from October 12th to April 12th, 6 months or 7 months. 7 months. We
Yeah.
had one of the biggest upward trends in Bitcoin history. Okay.
Wow.
So this yellow line here is the 1618 extension, which is the golden ratio of the 350-day moving average. The 200-day exponential moving average is this darker yellow line. And then down here you have the 350-day moving average, which is quite low, as you would assume it to be. 350-day average is essentially an annual average in technical analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back throughout Bitcoin's time, when the market is really overheated and doing well, you will see Bitcoin trade over this 350-day moving average times 2, which is the orange line. So if you go back and you look at the history, there's not a whole lot of times except for the quote unquote, bull run, right, of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it cross over that orange line here, And then generally speaking, when it gets really hot, you get the RSI get into pretty prolonged periods of being what would traditionally be in stock trading considered to be
Overbought.
oversold, which would
Okay.
be a 70 RSI. But Bitcoin can sit between 70 and 100 in its history, oftentimes touching 90. I don't think it hasn't hit 100, but usually between 70 and 90. So it's one of those assets that can really overextend. And you can see that here by how far away it was from the 200-day exponential moving average, which is a
Yeah.
key indicator of a bull run in Bitcoin. Okay. So you had, this run here. If you get it over the 3 times the 350-day moving average, which is this pink line, you better be taking profits because it's happened here in November, December of 2017. And it happened here, even getting into the 350-day moving average times 4
Yeah.
back in the 2013 run. It happened twice.
Yeah.
Now, you have the further out you go in a logarithmic scale, the less volatile the
Yeah.
upswings.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of diminishing returns, right? More people enter the network, there's more money, your timelines extend, and your upwards volatility tends to decrease. So what I'm showing here is that, we had the bearish cross and then a bullish cross followed by 7 months of really strong activity where we were overextended on this RSI, just like we traditionally have been, up into the 80s and 90s range. Now, these dotted lines here, this is a kind of a just an arbitrary line I drew, a trend line where we were in this 350-day moving average, basically from January, actually mid-December up until this run. But you see how we were up, 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 uptrend here. But do you see how the RSI started a bearish divergence?
Yeah.
This should have been most people's red flag
Yeah.
that there was going to be a drop.
Now I remember that time. It was like peak euphoria. It was like no one thought that Bitcoin was going anywhere. So I remember
Right,
that. Yeah.
right. Lots of euphoria.
Yeah.
So I'm on the lookout for this kind of stuff happening. But right now, what I'm seeing, so we had this massive really 7 month run. Then you had this divergence, and then you had the RSI start to cross back into this traditional top end of an RSI around 70. And look what happened once that happened right here. You started getting a spinning top, a doji candle right here. The
Yeah.
market didn't know in the week which way it was going to go. Could we push up? Could we not? Well, it fell back down and double tapped the golden ratio. And then we saw the spin
Oh.
downwards towards the 200 EMA, which has historically been the indicator that holds the momentum of a bear market, or excuse me, a bull market. Typically in a bear market, you might flirt with it. Here's the COVID crash back in March. Here is that dip down below the 200 EMA. We did have a little rebound in the summer after this 3 month drop that we saw from April to end of July. Look what else happened here. This green line, we got a bearish weekly cross, golden cross on the RSI when the RSI was down around 50. And then we got a 3 month run upwards until we got a bearish cross on the weekly RSI.
Ooh, I see what's forming.
And then we got a 3 month downward cycle, right? And this
I
is
see where
actually Elliott wave, 5 waves to the downside.
Yeah.
So if you kind of look at what we have here in these 3 months before a 3 month run up, does this look familiar to this?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was expecting too. What I was looking at was how long did that, that bear market of the summer, whatever you want to call it, how long did it last? And that's kind of what I was expecting, and similar time frame. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and look what's down here. I've circled this bearish and bullish cross, right? Look what we have setting up over here. That's also circled in blue.
Wow, it's about to cross.
A bearish cross right here where this red line is. And next week, it's about to have a golden cross on the RSI below 50.
Wow.
So last time that happened, we got a pretty nice little run in. And there's a few things fundamentally that are stacking up here. You got Russia, being pro Bitcoin. You've got an extension of the Grayscale ETF, spot ETF, filed by the SEC. You've got the NYDIG ETF being ruled on around March 16th, or excuse me, March 16th. And then you've also got some potential more consumer price index inflation reports. And then you've got the Fed ruling on whether or not we're going to see interest rates also around the same time, around March 16th.
Yeah.
So my theory here is that we should be seeing Bitcoin break this 200, this golden, or this 200-day EMA, flirt back and forth with it like we did last time. The key is, can we get back up to this golden ratio, which would bring price up to about 71,000? And then it's going to teeter on this decision right here on this week on whether or not we see an extension above the 61 to 71. And we keep on going up until the 80s. Now, if you look at the Fibonacci time sequence on the RSI, from the bearish cross to the projected, bullish cross, that would put a nice little time extension between now and May 16th, where we could see one of those February to May 3-month runs.
Yeah.
Or it also sets up to be February 14th to August 15th for one of these 6 or 7-month runs.
Wow.
And if we get one of those 6 to 7-month runs over the 350-day moving average, that's when you see Bitcoin break 100K.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like things are like adding up. Even one of the things that I like to look at is Google Trends, and you see Bitcoin just in crypto just going back up again. They were going down for quite a while, and Google Trends and interest is starting to pick up again.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of bullish news. There's a lot of bullish sentiment. There's a little bit of fear out there. The traditional markets, as you pointed out at the beginning of our discussion here, crypto's starting to diverge a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that there'll be some resistance over the next couple of days between, the low 40s and maybe up to the 50, up to the 60 range, where we've seen a lot of support and resistance in the past. That'll kind of hinge on the news of, the Bitcoin ETF and Fed fund rate. And then if we get positive news, say the Fed goes only a 0.25% raise, or they decide to just stop tapering and not raise interest rates, that could be bullish for not only the stock market, but also for Bitcoin. And that could be a huge catalyst. So it's still touch and go, but the technical analysis is starting to shape up and mirror the fundamental analysis. So in my opinion, the odds of seeing positive price action are greater than seeing downwards price action.
Yeah, I agree there. Now you brought up the interest. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the whole interest rates and stuff like that. Someone told me that the Fed wouldn't hike interest rates that much, just because what we own, like we owe like 30 trillion, something like that. So interest would actually affect that 30 trillion. I'm not sure how accurate they were. It was more of a casual conversation. So would it actually affect the 30 trillion? Would we pay?
Yeah.
Would the interest hike affect that, or do you know anything about that? Or
yeah, so this blue line I just put up on the screen, this is at inflationchart.com. The blue line represents all of money. And in the past 5 years, from 2017 to 2021, there's been a 65% increase in the money supply.
Wow. That's ridiculous.
And you can see the majority of it. We're at 15.4 trillion in February 2020, so pre-COVID. And then look what happened. The governments in the world decided to print the stimulus into oblivion. Yeah. So 15.4 trillion to 22.1 trillion. Okay, wow. So it's, we can round it up to 8 trillion. 7 to 8 trillion, right? 7 to 8 trillion out of 22. That's a getting to 40%, right?
Yeah.
Ballpark. That 40% of the money in the last 2 years and 65% of the money in the last 5. So
Oh man.
so if you've printed that much money and you raise the interest rates and there's call it 40% more money than when you lowered the rates to 0, and now you've got 40% more of the money. Do you want to raise the interest rates to pay down that 40% increase in the money supply? Like, do you want to pay interest on that additional capital you just printed?
No, I don't. I wouldn't.
Do you think the Fed wants to?
No.
Yeah. So they've kind of painted themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
There's so much new money in the system that to raise rates, and they could probably go up to a 1% increase to kind of get on par with, what the rates were back here in 2017.
Yeah, but people talking like I think in the 70s, right? They rose it up like to 17%, something like that.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's not really realistic, correct? I mean,
No, they could never go back to that. Not without causing a global depression or
yeah.
reset of monetary policy. But but yeah, and this is kind of interesting too, because some people think they've been absolutely crushing the stock market the past few years because the stock market is up 95% since 2017.
Yeah.
But when you adjust it for the 65% inflation, the stock market, S&P 500, I should say, not the total stock market, but the top 500 companies in the American stock market, up 19% adjusted for the monetary expansion.
That's in the
19% divided by
5 years.
5.
That's like 4% ish around there.
Yeah. And how
That's
much
not
is
bad.
inflation? I'll
This
tell
year
you.
it was it's been
I'll
what,
tell
like
you.
7% so far?
Inflation up 14% in this time frame.
Wow.
So we've lost 30% of purchasing power in 5 years.
Man.
Or things are 30% more expensive, said another way. So if you see here,
I thought I was killing it in the stock market. Now I'm
people think they're killing it in the stock market, but they're really not.
uh-uh.
They're really not. Now look at this. I'll make you a little bit more depressed about the stock market, and I'll give you some hope. You look at the last 20 years. See this red peak, red peak, red peak, red peak, red peak?
Yeah.
Okay. This S&P is up 302% in the last 20 years. Monetary expansion is up 303%. The return of the S&P 500 is 0.
Wow. So it's more of like a preserve your value sort of thing.
Yes. I treat the S&P 500 like a bond.
Yeah.
It's a conservative investment that will hold your purchasing power over time, but it doesn't gain any wealth.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at the Dow Jones over the same period of time. You'd be down 13%. The
Oh,
NASDAQ,
man.
you'd be up 115%. If you just held Tesla, you'd be up 10,635% against the monetary supply.
Wow.
So people that say Tesla is a bad investment, valuation, blah, 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 well, people that have been buying Tesla making out a hell of a lot better than people buying NASDAQ 100
Yeah.
or S&P 500.
Yeah.
Now let me show you Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin, granted, has only been around for 13 years. So let's just look at 10 years. Now look at Bitcoin in the last 10 years is up 556,000% adjusted for the increase in money.
Wow. What about gold?
Let's look at gold. Down 52%. Gold is not even a hedge against money. Now let's look at Ethereum. 175,000.
Wow.
So you tell me, you want crypto? Or do you want DJI, S&P, NASDAQ? What about Treasury? You want some bonds?
Nah, no thanks.
down 71%. What about real estate? You want to look at real estate?
Let's check that out.
Real estate the last 10 years is up 107%, adjusted for the money supply increase of 125, down 8%.
Oof. Wow. And then all the work you have to do to a real estate.
That's right. So when I say that VGX to me is a rental property, this is where this comes in, right? Because if I'm taking supply off the market, the value of my house is going up.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm collecting 7% on my
rent,
stake, which is my income from the renter.
Yeah.
So to me, I'd rather put my money into something like VGX, where I get to enjoy the utility and enjoy the price of my asset going up while collecting my rent. And I don't have to worry about a tenant or anything breaking or any kind of tax increase.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I've been adding more money into my stocks than to my crypto. Now I think I'm going to change that.
Yeah. When you really kind of look at it at scale, you know, everything is kind of rigged towards pumping money into the businesses who feed the politicians and the government and keep us poor, right? The whole financial system is geared towards us taking on debt, working longer, contributing longer, not gaining any wealth, not getting ahead. It's fundamentally geared and engineered to robbing us of our time, which is our most scarce asset. So to me, the only way to get your time back and improve your situation is to put your money in hard assets that will appreciate in value, thus giving you more time and giving you the freedom from having to have a job.
And I mean, it's only been 10 years. It's still young. It's a young investment.
That's right. Still early. Still really early. Still extremely early.
We got a question here, Nathan. Thoughts on EGLD? Do you know?
EGLD. Yeah, absolutely.
You like EGLD?
Love it.
I don't know much about it.
Investments.
What is EGLD exactly?
It's Elrond.
Oh, Elrond.
Yeah, so Elrond.com. It has this supply of about 20 or so million. Check this out. Growth.elrond.com. So Elrond's got a great website. They have a great team. It's business grade type analytics here that you get. They have a circulating supply of 20.5 million EGLD, 11.3 million of which is staked, 9 million of float. So you got a 55% staking rate. Okay. Wow. You look at the exchange volumes and the market cap and the price, you got some really big booms. You got overall a little bit of dips with the market, right? You got some pretty if you look at kind of a trend line here, it's up and to the right, right?
Yeah.
It does go through some pretty big corrections and chances to accumulate, but then usually that's followed by massive runs.
That's crypto. That's all of crypto.
Yeah, exactly. Now look at users. So users have gone from, less than 1,000 to 1.3 million. Now look at the distribution of EGLD out here to the right. If you can see it, there's 1.3 million EGLD users or Elrond users. The distribution is heavily weighted towards the people that have, less than one EGLD. The people that have over 100 EGLD is less than 1% of the holders.
Wow.
Now, that's good distribution. Now, I touched on 55% staking. Usage is up. Daily transactions are up. It's hard to see, but trust me, it's up very much to the right.
Yeah.
And then when you get to exchange float, so how much supply is on exchanges to fill those order books, right? When the order books get thin, the demand starts to outweigh the supply, and then you get price action that goes up, right? So look at the current supply, 3.26 EGLD, and then here's how much here's the exchange flow. So you typically, on most days, you see more supply leaving exchanges, Binance just added roughly 2 million EGLD a few weeks back, and that's where most of the supply was. 2 weeks ago, the supply of Elrond or EGLD on exchanges was 800,000.
Now it's 300.
Less than Bitcoin. There's more Bitcoin on exchanges than Elrond. So you have development, you have an active community, you have raising awareness, you have growing user wallets, growing utility and usage of the network, and you have a shrinking deflationary tokenomics. Because the way the tokenomics work with Elrond is that you've got Bitcoin-like supply in the low 20 millions, 20.5 million. There's a theoretical maximum supply that would be minted within 10 years of 31.4 million, but it'll never reach 31.4 million because the fees, once they overtake the token emissions or issuance, they stop issuing new tokens. So you can get up to 14%.
So it's going to reach a cap, right? Like,
that's right. So you can get up to 14% staking on Elrond.
Wow.
Your native staking on a blockchain that can scale to over 100,000 transactions per second.
So what's the use for Elrond? Is it just like a financial?
It's a layer one.
Layer one.
Yeah, it's a layer one. So let me show you the economics that I was just talking about. So, so there's the 10-year supply. Here's that thing that I was talking about right here. So it has a theoretical maximum of 31.415. So this is just pi in millions. So the inflation is the white outline, solid white outline, right?
Yeah.
But as transaction fees start to overtake the emissions, it just stops minting. So this is tokenomics that are going to tap out probably in the low 20 millions, probably within the next couple of years. So you're going to have a modern network, an adaptive proof of stake network that's sharded, and it's adaptive state sharding. So this is really cool in terms of the technology. Let's see if I can get to the. So adaptive state sharding is really cool because it allows not only the, trying to find the, let's see, token metrics.
Let's see, we got Elrond.
There is a slide in here that I want to show you because it's really cool. By the way, the team is really good. They have, core NEM developer and Benjamin Minku, who's the CEO, Lucien Tadea, and Benjamin's brother, are pioneers, and they've been around the blockchain space for a very long time. I think they've got Zilliqua sharding experts. They've got people that have worked on Brave. They have AI Olympiad champions that have worked for Ericsson. They have mathematician champions. They have literal rocket scientists on their team. They're stacked. Absolutely incredible team. The technology's crazy good. They have a lot of great ecosystem of partners. So elrondpartners.com. So there are all these different partners available from. It's an impressive map. I can scroll for quite a long time.
Wow.
So there's usage, there's utility, there's development, there's team, there's tokenomics, there is community. They're one of the largest Twitter communities behind like Cardano, Ethereum, and Bitcoin.
Is the staking process quite simple?
What's that?
The staking process, is it quite simple?
Dead simple. So if you go to, they have one of the best UIs in all of crypto. So if you go to Maiar.com, you can get the Maiar Wallet. It's a multi-asset wallet that is as secure as a ledger in terms of signing transactions. It's linked in with your phone number. You can get a hero tag. You can back up, a JS file, or you can do all sorts of You can do paper wallet. You can do whatever you want. But you can do Bitcoin, Ethereum, EGLD, all sorts of things that can hold digital identity. Elrond tokens have built-in like NFTs. You can build up to 30% royalties natively in the NFTs themselves.
Yeah.
And they're first-class citizens on the network. They're actually tokens on Elrond that they don't have to be, wrapped in different ways like Ethereum. You can transfer and move them just per the normal. But this UI is incredible. You can stake. So once you get you can fund the wallet, and you can stake right on the wallet, and you can get like 14%. And you see here, you have like your social name, like your @ name, like on Twitter.
Yeah.
They kind of gamify, how you are in your social, bringing people on the platform, how you've learned, and where you rank in terms of tokens. It's really cool. So they have one of the best in class UIs. Here's something also really cool. They own their own bank. They bought TwizPay last year, and they just bought Utrust, which is a crypto payment provider, just like Voyager bought Coinify.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bought Utrust and merged the teams. So they have you'll be able to have a really good peer-to-peer payment wallet system with on-ramps and off-ramps, with an exchange of a multi-sharded technology, over 100,000 transactions per second, with the tokenomics of Bitcoin.
Wow.
6-second finality. Epochs are 1 day. You get staking rewards every day.
Every day? Wow. I like
every
that.
day. Every 24 hours.
Nice. And it's compounding daily or compounding like
daily?
Wow. Nice.
They have their own exchange. So the Maiar exchange. Maiar, by the way, is the wizarding class of like Gandalf and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Elrond being yeah. Here's that map, by the way, of the ecosystem partners: launchpads, wallets, media partners, capital investors. But by the way, this is 100% built from line zero, from scratch, from the core team, self-funded.
Dang.
And then what they did was they after they built the network, the mainnet. They did have a Binance launchpad and token distribution where people could get in on buying in early, but they were self-funded. They didn't have to take VC money. So that's why going back to that technology growth here and the fairness of the token distribution, right? The tokens are held in the hands of the many. That's this big gap right here, non-zero versus the few.
Got it.
So yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to really knock or complain about in terms of Elrond. It's definitely one of my largest investments. But the adaptive state sharding and secure proof of stake, I highly encourage anybody to look up on this technology. They do have in the white paper on their website, they have a really good comparison. I think it's under docs.
So are those like are these like the two tokens that you're the most bullish on, like VGX and Elrond?
My largest investment is Luna. And then Bitcoin and VGX and EGLD.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So they have a 6-second block time, like I was saying. Transactions are cheap. Scalability beyond 100,000. Actually, testnet was 263,000 transactions. So not centralized in VC like Solana, but just as fast, right? Doesn't have as fast as finality, but it can handle a lot of throughput. Interoperable, adaptive state sharding. So all of the technology is incredible. Secure proof of stake. So it has randomness selected into, which shard is going to do which function, and the validators are randomized. So you can't really kind of try to attack the network and try to get ahead of the blocks. Adaptive state sharding is the only network out there that does this. So the network is sharded, the transactions are sharded, and the state is sharded. And So, and it's built on WebAssembly, so
Yeah.
it's super easy to develop on. C++, C Sharp, Rust, Go, JavaScript. It has a virtual machine compatibility, cross-shard transactions. You can compare the tech to Ethereum's version 2.0, Zilliqa, ICP, or Dfinity, Algorand, and Harmony, which is probably the closest comp technologically speaking.
Yeah.
All of this information is available, like I said, in like a business class website right here, docs.elrond.com, elrondpartners.com, growth.elrond.com, Maiar.com. Yeah, if anybody wants to learn more about this and this wasn't a good enough of an overview to get anyone excited, feel free to reach out to me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what other questions do we have?
I think is that can't wait for debit card, buy my eagles with Transact. I think that was, did we miss any questions? I think we got it all. I had Airborne had this question here. He said, do you know any details about staking phase 4 on the Q1 roadmap?
Yeah, so there's 3,200 nodes on Elrond right now with a backup queue, and their phase 4 is going to open that up beyond 3,200 nodes. So they're one of the most distributed decentralized networks as well. I forgot to mention that. Second only to ETH 2.0.
Wow.
So I know that they're beyond knowing that they're going to expand that Airborne. I'm not sure on the exact number. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah.
But I know
Yeah,
that they want to make it even more decentralized, and then governance on chain should be coming this year as well as the only sharded exchange in the Maiar exchange. There's other third-party, non-core dev team developed things like the Katana and Orion and Reef and other things that will interact with it. They have a Polygon Matic bridge as well. They have Ethereum bridge. So, yeah.
I like Matic.
Yeah. Hey, if you like, I mean, honestly, in terms of tokenomics and crypto, it's hard to beat Luna.
Yeah.
But Elrond is probably the next best.
Wow. I'm gonna have to start looking. I'm gonna check out that website. You said the Maiar.
Yeah,
I wrote it down. Maiar.
yeah. I'll send you a code, and you can download it, and it could be
for
my
sure. That's cool, man. This was. I feel like I'm with information, man. I feel like a genius now.
Well, you have fun doing timestamps.
Yeah, no, timestamps will be fun. Yeah. Any last things, or thanks, Obi-Wan. If anyone has any last questions, ask them now or forever hold your peace. But hey, man, thanks for coming on. It was great. It was fun, man. Whenever you want to come on to the channel, you're more than welcome to come on here. And if there's anything you want to go through, I know that when you said the Voyager, when they show their what is it? Is it going to be quarter two? Financials?
For the new, oh gosh, yeah. When we get the new quarterly report, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see, especially if this market heats. Well, if this market heats up before the end of March, it should be a really fun quarterly report. And come April.
Yeah, because I've seen some of the quarter reports, but sometimes I'm just like, wait, what's going on here? So I'm not that good.
We went through one of those lulls like we did in the summer, right? There wasn't a whole lot of trading. I'm guessing that their funded accounts is just under 1.2, in the 1.1 range. As of what are we, February 7th?
Yeah.
That'd be right. That'd be where I'd estimate it. I'd say that the VLP members, if I had to take a stab at estimating, is probably less than 25% of the accounts currently on the platform of that 1.1 million. So, even just a slight uptick in VLP adoption will go a long way on eating up the supply.
I already see. Well, one thing I like to look at, like I think all last month I only got one referral off like my YouTube for Voyager, and already this month I think I've gotten like 2 or 3. I'm no big Tico over here, but it's starting to pick up a little, so I do see that.
Thomas in the comments said, check the Twitter questions.
Twitter questions on it right now. Let me see. I think I wrote down the ones that we had, but let's see. Did we have any new ones? I don't think we got any new ones. No, I wrote down.
Compound Moneymaker in terms of the Zilliqa comparison. Uh, People that were previously on the Zilliqa team or on the Elrond team, Elrond is superior. If you want to read the comparison, it's on docs.elrond.com/technology. And there's a detailed comparison of Zilliqa and Elrond here, as well as comparisons to Algorand, Harmony, Definity, and ETH 2.0.
Let me see. I'm trying to see on Discord if there were any questions. I know I had one from. But I think we already went through that one from Winston, who said your proposal, but we already went through the proposal. Twitter, I think we got them all.
Okay.
Unless if anyone has any. I mean, we got Aragorn's questions. Yeah, I think we went through them all.
Yeah, I will say if we didn't cover anyone's question, and I'll hop in on Spaces. I'm sure Big T will open one up here in a second. And
Yeah.
if anybody has any follow-up questions from this session, I'm happy to answer them there.
Or yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to hop on here, I can open it up and I can invite some other people and just we can hang out here. Whatever's going.
If you want to do extended here, that's good too. I know some people like YouTube Live because we have the visual aids. So
Yeah.
if anybody wants me to do, I'm not a TA expert, but I can hold my own. I think a little bit.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants me to, I can do some. But
yeah, I mean, hey, Airborne, you want to hop on for a bit? Are you busy? You want to come on? If anyone else or whatever, I mean, I'm down with expanding. I mean, just going a little bit longer and having a.
I did convince Crypto Airborne and 6 Feet to check out Elrond, and I know they both are in it now.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to bed. He's going to bed. Yeah. All right. I think we'll end it there.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. It was great having you, Obi-Wan. Again, whenever you wanna come on to the channel, you're more than welcome. And definitely let's check out the Q2 earnings report. And you can break it down for us. I think that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We'll take out the next filing. And yeah, once we get a little volume like today, I mean, you see what the token go up today. I just want to point this out. I think this is what Thomas was pointing to.
6%.
He wanted to know about, I think, price action.
Yeah, well, because some other tokens have gone up a lot more.
So the price action in terms of the recent months is just the overall crypto market has had low volume the last few months. So there's not a lot of, going back to the very early example we started out with, there hasn't been a lot of trading activity. The order volume has been very low. Like these calendars, these dark grayed out columns here would be representative of volume. Volume has been really low, and you see that usually when a market's kind of boring or not too exciting, there's not a lot of people coming in and throwing fresh capital in. And so when the volume's low, things kind of stagnate. And Voyager typically has been getting like 1 to 2 million-ish type volume in trading, which is insane. When you've seen Voyager move in the past, it's been 20 million plus in volume. So we're getting like less than 5% of that volume on any kind of daily average. Even today at 5.7 million in 24-hour traded volume, it's still incredibly small. And you saw the token go up 6% off of that.
Well, one thing I like to look at is like the last time that Bitcoin was, what are we at right now? Like 42K. Last time that Bitcoin was at around 42K, where was Voyager? That's what I like to compare and then kind of see like Bitcoin went up, like 20% and Voyager only went up 10%, something like that. When was the last time we were at 42K with Bitcoin? Let's see.
Yeah, this one's always tricky because these charts got messed up with the.
Oh, with the
token swap.
Token swap, yeah.
I thought this had been correct. Oh, I'm on a weekly time frame. So last time, what do you ask when Voyager or BTC was 42?
Yeah.
Let's look at BTC first. That'll be easier to find.
Yeah.
When it was 42. Well, it was 42 recently in January.
In January. Oh,
January.
really?
So
And then
mid-January. So if we go back and look at Voyager in mid-January.
yeah.
Let's try this one. VGX use. Oh, here we go. So mid-January, Voyager would have been in the 250 range.
So it hasn't recovered as well as Bitcoin, right?
Not yet.
Yeah,
not yet. Trending upwards right here. So you see these EMA ribbon lines as they're fanning out. They're starting to move upwards. And as they do, they'll tighten and flip to bullish. And you'll see price action like this. Now, if I were to bring in some volume into here, just put, this is what I'm talking about here, just volume. Just regular old boring volume. This is what I'm talking about. You see when the price moves up, look at these volume.
Yeah.
We're getting $10 million here, 5.7 there, 11 million here, 11 million here. So when you see Voyager getting 10 million plus in volume, the price
moves quick,
violently rise. So in this instance, the price went from 205 up to 311. And this candle here, it went from 265 up to 456 on 10 million of volume. We got half of that today, not even. Look at the volume over here. At least on Binance, the volume's tiny.
Yeah. So if we get one of those big, and one thing I noticed is like, look at the buying, the volume of the buying. Like you don't really see those crazy selling volume other than that one there.
No, and actually a lot of since Coinbase launched, you've actually seen a lot of volume kind of move over to Coinbase. But even here, when Coinbase launched, it got 28 million in volume. Wow. The price went from, it went up to 593 on that initial candle, and then it came back down to 432. And then, so there's a lot of excitement when it initially listed, and then there was a little bit of sell-off there. Another bump over here when it went from 421 to 550. And then since then, we've gotten bupkis in terms of volume.
It's nothing,
So what this is indicative of is a token that is being accumulated, but not sold.
Yeah.
So lots of people are buying VGX, but they're not selling it. They're locking up their tiers. They're staking it. Look how oversold it is on this R side. Again, the purple line below the 30 mark on Coinbase. I mean, this is as low as you ever see anything in the teens. That's incredibly oversold. So let's start to make its way back up.
I think it just is one good news, and it's just gonna go flying. I think that once the debit card finally, that's gonna be the one thing that just sends it going. It's just the one thing that I'm a little worried about is, you're seeing the crypto hype kind of pick up a little, and it'd be nice if Voyager would be able to pick up some of that hype by releasing some of these news,
Oh yeah. I mean, we're just getting it. Once the debit card gets in people's hands, you'll see a spike in interest.
Yeah.
When people start posting their cash back for paying their mortgages and for paying their bills with the ACH bill pay and direct deposits going to Voyager,
I can't wait for that.
The community is going to be so excited. The word is going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And hopefully get some more signups, and then maybe a month or two after the cards get out, you see some big interest.
Yeah. Someone's asking for your Maiar referral code. I think they want to sign up. I don't know if you want to put it on there, or maybe send it to them or something.
Oh yeah, I think I have it posted on my Twitter.
Yeah.
If you search my Twitter page and look for Maiar, if not, I'll send it to whoever was asking.
I think I could go on there and then just search it and.
Yeah, I'm happy to post it. It's kind of a longer little string, so I'll actually retweet it after this session, so it'll be fresh.
Yeah, I don't think I see it here. Is it on the top? I see the Voyager one, but I don't see the Maiar.
Let me.
Yeah, no, I don't. I see the Voyager one.
Oh, you're talking about on my Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're on my Twitter, I think I'll check it on another screen here. Profile. And then isn't there a search app within on the phone app? There is. I'll just get it from my wallet right now and post it. But yeah, there's now a lot of interested parties in the VGX heroes that are, I think, starting to get into this one. So
yeah, I think it's funny how it goes. It's like a lot of we kind of invest in the same stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I just tweeted it.
Cool.
So, yeah, definitely check it out. And it's really secure. You can store, Bitcoin or Ethereum or USDC or whatever else you want to throw out there.
Yeah. All right, there. Oh yeah, I see it. It's on Twitter. There it is.
Nice, excellent. Yeah, thanks for using it. And yeah, it depends on which. There's Transact, there's MoonPay, and there's Ramp. So depending on what state you live in or what country you live in, whether or not they have a license, you might have to try which one works for you. But I've personally been able to use Ramp. That works really well. But I know it's like 26 states, so just throw that out there.
Got it. So then on Maiar, it's like what? Can you buy directly from there, or link a bank account and then buy directly from there, or you have to kind of like transfer, kind of like from a MetaMask or something like that?
No, you can buy directly on there. They have third-party payment services and Transact, MoonPay, and Ramp.
Nice.
And one of them, I think it's MoonPay, allows ACH transfers, but it again depends on the jurisdiction of where you do your where you live.
Yeah, I'm in California. I need to get out of here, but
yeah, the West Coast and New York are typically the roughest places for.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with like crypto apps and stuff like that, but I know the only thing that I did run into was my bank account not allowing me. I remember when I first got into Voyager, they weren't allowing me to transfer any money into my Voyager, so that was probably like the worst thing that I've encountered. But I actually called them up and was like, let me transfer my money into Voyager.
Oh, the bank.
Yeah, the bank.
Yeah,
I have US Bank.
Yeah, the banks are is this fraudulent activity? I mean,
yeah,
I can't wait to get away from banks and be all, I like using, Voyager. I just had my bank account had a fraudulent transaction, and even though I had the card in my possession and everything, I'm just like, really?
Yeah, well, it happened to me too. I mean,
can we just move to digital, please?
Yeah, it happened to me where I got there was a transaction. First, they did like a 10-cent transaction. It went through, and then they did like a $1, and then 10, and then they did like 200, 300 some dollars, something like that. And it was like this long process with the bank. They didn't want to give my money back, but I was like, give my money back, and they finally gave my money back. But it was a long process. It was just a pain, man. It was horrible.
Yeah, it really is. It's just, and then you're out like, oh well, for 5 to 7 days we can get you a new card, or you can expedite it by 4 to 6 days and for $50. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you. Yeah, so I got the I actually have your Maiar here open, so I'm gonna probably sign up for that and I'm gonna check that out.
Okay.
But I'm running low on cash, so I'm gonna have to wait till the next paycheck, man. I'm a teacher. I get paid at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
so,
if you want to really blow your mind on Maiar, where the real money is, the staking is good by itself. I'm not going to say it isn't, but if you're on Maiar.exchange,
what assets can you hold on? Is it just specifically for EGLD?
Yeah, so they're adding more tokens right now. They've just as of the 31st of January or the 1st of February, they just started opening up additional tokens. So people are starting to list. Okay. So Aero, this is like an aerospace type Uber private jet type company. iSet is Isengard. This is an NFT project. Holoride won one of the. Check out Holoride. Let me tell you about Holoride. It's going to be one of the first meta stake products.
Yeah.
So you can add money to a liquidity pool and earn Maiar exchange token. And you can put that LP token into a meta staking pool where you earn ride tokens. So you're going to earn, not only are you collecting liquidity pool fees, but you're also earning 2 tokens for providing liquidity on the exchange.
Give me a second. Obi-Wan, I need to go to the restroom real fast. I'm gonna be right back. Give me a second.
Sure. So I'll just cover these while you're in the restroom. USDC is exactly what it sounds like. But yeah, the exchange is easy to use. It's fast. It walks you through real quick. You can do swap of assets for another asset. And once you have the assets you want to provide liquidity for, you just go over here and add the liquidity pair. And then once you have the liquidity tokens, you can stake them in these pools. And I'll show when investing guy comes back what that is. And check the comments. VGX cards or Voyager cards should be coming out in the next few weeks. They are testing right now on the friends and family and Voyager employees. They just got the cards, I think, last week from MasterCard. I think there's a little bit of delay in getting cards out to people. And that's not just a Voyager thing. That's just card delays in crypto in general. A lot of demand for crypto cards. All right, looks like you're back. So
I'm back. You don't get that on a video. This is live. As live as it gets.
No worries. So Holoride won one of the best awards of the Consumer Electronics Show. Yeah. And what this is an extended reality product where you can, like, in the future when we're getting driven around in our Ubers, we can put headsets on and do play to earn games and a theme park like experience in the back of a car. Wow. Or you could just watch a show or whatever, but you'll have opportunities to effectively pay for your own ride. So it turns the backseat of the car into games.
That's like the most creative thing I've ever seen. I would have never imagined this in my life. I mean, who came up with this? This is crazy.
Holoride initially launched through Audi. And they've since split off from Audi and become their own company. They partnered with
Audi, the car brand?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so they chose Elrond as the network to launch on. And it's going to be because of their technology and the team behind it. But yeah, as you're driving around in the car, it's kind of like that Buzz Lightyear game kind of in Disneyland, right? Where you can kind of go around and shoot
things,
or be in like a spaceship and you know.
Man, I love that game.
Yeah. So this is really cool because or this game here where you're like knocking over skeletons or whatever. I don't want to play the video, but I mean, people can come out to Holoride and check it out. But this is one of the big tokens. It'll be the first meta staking token. So what I mean by meta staking is you're going to be able to provide liquidity for Ride EGLD. And not only do you make a really handsome APR here at 543% compounded daily.
What?
Yeah, you heard that. Yeah, but it gets better because then you'll be able to put this token into the meta stake. And not only are you earning MEX tokens, but you're earning ride tokens. And you're collecting liquidity pool fees on top of it.
That's insane.
This is this one right here. So the reason that the rewards are so good is what they've done basically is they took the whole supply and they said, we're going to release the whole supply of this exchange token in 1 year. And what's going to happen is it's 80% of the rewards are going to go to the liquidity pool providers and 25% of the transactions are going to be burnt. Wow. So it's inflationary. And so what happens in DeFi often when you're providing liquidity and yield farming is I call them liquidity locusts. They fly from project to project and protocol to protocol. They rob the communities of the funds of the tokens by providing liquidity in big amounts of dollars, and then they sell off, leave the community poor, and then they fly off to the next field to go rob the next harvest. Elrond decided to, counteract that by offering a way to lock your gains into a long-term capital gains. And in doing so, for keeping the money on the platform, 95% of the rewards are going to people that lock.
Wow.
So you actually get a multiplier on this token. So you can see the normal rewards would be a 1x multiplier, which is a good rate right now, 15%, base APR of 14.3, and an APY of 16. That's all fine and good if you just want MEX. But if you want to lock, they give you a 14.2 multiplier, where if you compound one time a day, can get 768% currently.
And that's on the MEX token?
Yes.
Got it.
And it will automatically start to unlock.
Yeah.
Like after 1 year, it unlocks like 16 to 17% a month. And then you can swap the MEX, or you'll be able to use it in more liquidity pools to make more money. Or they're going to have synthetic assets where you can actually do like synthetic stocks trading. And just like on Anchor Protocol and Luna or other programs, you can use your MEX to take a collateralized loan. That product will be coming. And remember, I said they have a Maiar card and they have that app, right? So imagine earning triple figure type yields, locking up your tokens for a year, getting a nice little basket of funds ready to use. And then you take a loan off of that basket and then you spend it in the real world, or you reinvest it further.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're talking about, the opportunities here.
Yeah. What Thomas said, you need to start a channel for sure, man. You know so much.
Yeah. Sometimes it. But the Holoride is a great token. That the Arrow one that just launched on the platform is kind of cool. The other ones are more NFT centric, and there's a few other that have listed that haven't quite made it to the swap portal that you have to custom add the token. But because NFTs are a native token to the blockchain and have built-in royalties that you can code, it's one of the most vibrant NFT communities out there right now. There's multiple portals and exchanges, and the floor prices are quite good. I don't participate in the NFTs because I stay in my DeFi lane. But there are people out there making quite a bit of money on Elrond NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, I ran from NFTs. That was some scary stuff, man.
but it's not like Ethereum where you got to like transfer your whole wallet to get this token to, subject to scamming and phishing, right? Phishing scams, right? The wallet is so secure, and it has to be biometrically approved, or have to put a pin in and sign every transaction, just like a ledger.
Yeah.
What are the convenience of being on your phone?
Yeah. No, I mean the scariest. I meant the scary part from NFTs was the price action. Because it can go up a lot, or it can go down to zero.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a great use case for NFTs in the future. I think that this is a little bit hypey when it comes to like the art. Yeah. I think the majority of things that actually are going to be on chain are going to be NFTs. It's just it's an evolution.
Yeah.
We have to kind of digitize our world and our certifications and identities and assets, and that'll take time.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, anyways, Elrond, really cool. Maiar Exchange, awesome. Holoride, check it out.
I just looked into that Holoride, and it's like a micro token right now, right? What's the market cap?
Yeah. So analytics tokens, it is $1.58, getting 1.95, so almost $2 million in trading volume last 24 hours.
Wow.
$65 million in liquidity on the exchange. And this Maiar Exchange has only been around since mid to late November last year.
Yeah.
And the exchange itself has already got 1.5 billion value locked. It was over 2 billion at one point.
Wow.
You know, you compare that to something like a Pancake Swap or stuff on Luna like Astroport. This is up there in terms of total value locked, not counting the native blockchain. This is just the exchange. So they kind of I was talking about those mathematicians, smart guys doing their token supply. They kind of right before the tokens launched, they decided to multiply things by 1,000 to kind of play the psychological game of buying a lot with a little price per unit.
Yeah.
But it is deflationary, so over time, the supply deflates as the exchanges get used.
Yeah.
In lending and in synthetic stock trades, swapping assets, providing liquidity.
What is exactly synthetic stock trades? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so synthetic stocks are just like collateralized debt position representations of an asset on chain that follow the price action of something in the real world, like equity price or commodity price.
Okay.
So on Mir Finance, so if we go to terra.mir.
So is it kind of like right now USDC is always following the value of the dollar, kind of that kind of stuff? Or
I'll show you.
Yeah.
So the best one out there right now in the market is the Mirror protocol on Terra. It's also on Ethereum. It's cross-chain. And what this does is it allows you to basically what you do is you can short or long a position, but you don't actually have obviously ownership stake in the stock. This is it's an over collateralized tokenized asset.
Okay.
So when you mint a token or buy one of these M assets or mirrored assets, what you're doing is you're getting a representative value of something that somewhat mirrors the real world price action of the market. So you have the oracle price of what's being brought in from off-chain, on-chain, and then you have the pool price, which includes a premium for protocol fees and for people playing the market on top of the oracle price. So there's a premium or a benefit, just like you would like a Grayscale trust. There's either a discount or a premium, right?
Okay, so right now Apple is trading at negative. Does that mean it's what does that mean? Does that mean
it means that the price to acquire right now is less than the current close price on the oracle.
Oh, got it. So you'd be paying less for a share of Apple.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So you got most of the big boys. You got Apple, Airbnb, AMD, Amazon, Arc. You got Baba, Bitcoin, Coinbase, Disney, Polkadot, ETH, Facebook, Google, Hood, Goldman, J&J, Netflix, Microsoft. And all of these assets can be listed through governance. If anybody's interested in putting a proposal up to list a different asset, that goes up for community vote, and then the asset gets listed or delisted. You've got US Oil, you've got the VIX, you have Square, the SPY, which is the S&P 500, silver, gold,
Starbucks,
Tesla, Twitter. Yeah. So you have a pretty good selection of most growth stocks, a few commodities, and you got the QQQ for the NASDAQ, the triple Q. Yeah. NEO's on here now. Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, iShares Gold.
And this is only for shorting or
No. So you can borrow or short, but you basically by minting and selling an asset, you're taking a short position, but you can also farm and take a long position. So here's the type of rates that you can do, long and short. Those are APYs currently.
AP what? Earning APY on.
Yes, wow. Better than dividends.
Wow.
So you can actually put up a long or short position and get pretty good yield. Or you can do both. You can do a delta neutral strategy where you provide collateral to the platform. Say you're making 20% on Anchor with your AUST, and then you buy an asset, like say you wanted to short Microsoft. You could get 34% on the short farm, making your 20% and then 34% on top of that. And then you could buy M assets on the dips at 15% and provide that to the exchange and get 15% off that. So you can have equal dollars on the short and the long, so your principal delta is neutral.
Is there any risk in like putting it in the what do you call it, the pool, or?
Sure, yeah, there's always risk. So if the collateral of what you decide to deposit shoots up in price beyond the liquidation range, you have a chance of your principal being liquidated. It's not very common that growth stocks or some of these assets like gold or the VIX or that they experience a lot of volatility. So it's generally safer than most cryptos. But as you saw, the stock market the last 2-3 weeks, even the stocks can dip 20 to 40% in a day.
Yeah.
So is it any riskier than having exposure to the stock market or crypto in general? No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Wow.
And if you're using like an appreciating asset that's earning you yield to mint the position in the first place, over time that collateral position grows.
It'll pay for itself.
Yeah. Or it gives you more buffer in terms of your liquidation setting as the asset's growing.
Yeah.
And there are cool protocols on the Terra ecosystem, like Nexus protocol, where they actually have a product that's upcoming in their roadmap and will actually automate this strategy I was just talking about, the delta neutral strategy, where it actually does the short and the longs for you, and you just collect the profit.
Wow.
In a smart contract. So you provide the UST, it plays the market for you, you walk out with a profit.
Wow. So is it like a trading bot or something like that? Or
yeah, smart contract that automates the strategy.
Interesting. Man, I mean, so much stuff I didn't know about. I mean, I'm just in the basic, just holding Voyager.
Yeah. Oh man, here's a rebalancer bot that they're building on chain that they're working with SoFi, our pal SoFi, who's he's a Voyager fan as well as a lunatic, and he's been working with giving some free ideas to the developer teams, and he's actually kind of building a 50-50 rebalancer bot with them, where you put Luna and UST in, and it automatically sells the high and buys the low.
Wow.
So what all these on-chain strategies and smart contracts do is they limit your tax exposure by having to manually claim and then sell and then restake, right? You just deposit your funds into a strategy or a smart contract, and you allow the protocol to do the work for you, and then you just close the position when you want. So you save yourself taxes and fees.
Man.
Yeah. This is why I'm in the lunatics, community for my DeFi's. It's Terra and Elrond are my main ecosystems.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna check out the that Maiar Wallet for sure, and then maybe next time I'll be ready for something like this.
We could do probably every single one of these protocols could be 1 or 2 videos all into themselves.
Yeah, I bet.
There's so much information.
Yeah. All right. I think we're gonna end it there, man. I mean, and then I'm gonna get working on the timestamps.
Yeah, so we kind of veered off into the DeFi world, but
yeah, I'll add like Airborne said, add that to the title. I will. Oh man. Hey, Obi-Wan, thank you, man. It's been you're genius, dude. It's insane.
Well, it was nice hanging out. I liked it. Lots of fun. And if you want me back to cover reports or other protocols, let me know.
For sure. Well, yeah, we'll keep in touch, man. Everyone, thanks for hanging out. It was a really good stream. I appreciate you guys being here. And again, Obi-Wan, thank you so much, man. You completely led the stream, dude. Yeah, you definitely need your own channel. All right, I'm gonna end it and see you guys. Have a good night.
See ya.
See ya.